Hello, brilliant minds. Welcome back to Mind-Blowing Motive, where we don't just speak words, we spark change. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at someone successful and wondered, how do they do it all so well? They speak with clarity, act with confidence, and create with passion. It's almost like they've mastered every skill life could throw at them. But the truth is, success isn't just about one talent. It's about mastering different mindsets. Imagine if you could speak like a lawyer, calm, precise, and persuasive. What if you could express your soul like a philosopher, with depth and meaning that touches hearts? Analyze like a psychologist, understanding not only others but also your own emotions? Observe like a detective, catching details that others miss, seeing what's hidden beneath the surface. Decide like a judge, with fairness, courage, and wisdom. And not just that. Create like an artist with color, feeling, and imagination. Work like an engineer, building dreams into real, working structures with patience and purpose. This isn't just about gaining skills. It's about becoming whole, unstoppable, and extraordinary. Each of these roles represents a powerful part of your inner self. You don't need to be born with these gifts. You can learn, practice, and master them, one step at a time. So, if you're ready to unlock the ultimate version of yourself, stay with me. Because in this video, we're diving into how mastering these mindsets can help you conquer life. Not just survive it, but truly succeed. Let's begin the journey. 1. Speak like a lawyer. In a world full of voices, noise, and opinions, what sets a person apart is not just what they say, but how they say it. Words carry energy. They carry weight. And those who master their words often master their world. Now think for a moment. When you hear a lawyer speak in court, what do you feel? Calm? Power? Conviction? There's no rush in their words, no fear in their tone. They speak with purpose, precision, and persuasion. And that's exactly why speaking like a lawyer is one of the greatest skills you can ever develop if you want to succeed in life. A lawyer doesn't speak to impress. They speak to influence. Every sentence is carefully crafted. They know that a single misplaced word can break a case, ruin a deal, or shift a verdict. This mindset creates a discipline that's rare and powerful. Imagine applying that same discipline to your daily life. At work, at home, with friends, or even when speaking to yourself. You'd begin to notice how your words shape your reality. You'd realize how many opportunities were lost simply because you didn't speak clearly or confidently when it mattered most. But what does it really mean to speak like a lawyer? First, it means knowing your message. A lawyer never walks into a courtroom unprepared. They study the case, gather facts, and prepare their arguments. In life, too, preparation matters. Whether you're delivering a presentation, asking for help, or sharing your opinion, knowing what you want to say, and why, gives your words direction. Without preparation, we ramble. We hesitate, and we lose the impact our words could have made. Second, it's about structure. Lawyers don't speak in chaos. They build arguments step by step. Beginning, middle, end. Statement, support, conclusion. This kind of structure doesn't just make you sound smart. It makes you understood. And understanding is the foundation of all strong relationships, whether personal or professional. When your words are easy to follow, people listen longer, respect more, and remember better. Third, it's about tone. The unspoken message behind the spoken words. A lawyer knows when to be firm and when to be gentle, when to pause and when to push forward. Tone carries emotion, and people respond to how you make them feel even more than what you actually say. A strong voice, steady tone, and calm pace can transform a simple sentence into something unforgettable. You don't need to shout to be powerful. You just need to be steady, sure, and sincere. Let's not forget listening. The secret tool behind powerful speech. Lawyers listen not just to respond, but to understand. They notice what's said and what's unsaid. They read between the lines. Most people just wait for their turn to talk, but those who speak like lawyers pay attention. This deep listening allows them to respond with accuracy and wisdom. And that's a rare and admired trait in today's fast world. Another quality lawyers master is emotional control. Even under pressure, they stay focused. They don't let anger hijack their tone. They don't speak out of impulse. And when they do raise their voice, it's for effect, not because they've lost control. Imagine what would happen if we all applied that discipline in our everyday conversations. How many arguments would we avoid? How many misunderstandings would disappear? How many bridges would we build instead of burning them? And speaking like a lawyer doesn't mean sounding robotic or using complicated words. It means choosing clear words, strong words, true words. Simplicity is power. You can move hearts and change minds with even the most basic vocabulary. If your message is clear and your tone is confident, this skill becomes especially important when life gets hard. When you're facing conflict, criticism, or confusion, how you speak determines how you're treated. Speak with doubt, and you'll be doubted. Speak with clarity, and you'll be heard. Speak with courage, and you'll be followed. The beautiful thing is, anyone can learn this. You don't have to be a real lawyer. You just have to be willing to train yourself to pause before speaking, to think before responding, to organize your thoughts, and to speak with intention, not emotion. In every room you walk into, your words can either open doors or shut them. In every relationship, your tone can either heal wounds or deepen them. And in every decision, your voice can either inspire change or create chaos. That's how much power you hold. With your voice alone. So the next time you speak, ask yourself, am I just talking or am I communicating with purpose? 2. Express like a philosopher. There's something magical about the way philosophers express themselves. They don't just speak to communicate, they speak to awaken. Their words don't just fill silence, they create reflection. They take everyday thoughts and stretch them beyond the surface, making us stop and ask, what is the deeper meaning behind this? In a fast-paced world where most people are racing to speak louder, the philosopher whispers, and yet, that whisper travels deeper. That's the beauty of expressing like a philosopher. It's not about big words or complex theories. It's about truth, clarity, and depth. To express like a philosopher means you don't rush your thoughts. You explore them. You sit with them, hold them up to the light and ask, is this true? Is this kind? Is this necessary? And when you speak, people feel something. Not because your voice is loud, but because your words are honest. Philosophers speak with calm curiosity, not to win arguments, but to discover truth. And in a world that's overflowing with opinions but starving for meaning, this kind of expression is rare and deeply needed. Think about the last time someone said something that stuck with you for days. Was it flashy? Probably not. Most likely, it was simple, raw, real. That's how philosophers speak, with words that don't just pass through your ears, but settle into your heart. They might say, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. And suddenly your whole day shifts. Your burdens feel lighter. Your vision becomes clearer. That's the power of meaningful expression. Now imagine what could happen if you started expressing yourself that way. What if your thoughts weren't just reactions, but reflections? What if your words carried calmness instead of chaos, understanding instead of anger, vision instead of vanity? Your relationships would deepen, your influence would grow, and your mind would feel more peaceful. because expressing yourself with wisdom also clears your inner noise. To express like a philosopher, you must first learn to think like one. That means giving yourself space to reflect, away from distractions, away from noise. Philosophers often take long walks, sit in silence, or stare out at nature. Not because they're avoiding life, but because they're trying to understand it. They turn everyday experiences into lessons. A falling leaf reminds them of letting go. A sunrise reminds them of hope. And every heartbreak becomes a doorway to deeper compassion. When you think like this, your expression naturally becomes deeper, more mindful, more beautiful. Another important trait is humility. Philosophers don't pretend to have all the answers. They ask questions, and that's what makes them powerful. In conversations, instead of saying, "You're wrong," they ask, "What makes you feel that way?" Instead of forcing their opinion, they invite others to explore with them. This builds connection, not conflict. It creates bridges, not walls. And in expressing themselves, philosophers don't run from vulnerability. They embrace it. They'll tell you how it hurts to be misunderstood, how it feels to search for meaning. And in doing so, they give you the courage to feel deeply too. That's why we connect with their words, because they remind us that it's okay to not have it all figured out, as long as we're searching sincerely. Now more than ever, the world needs people who can speak from the soul. People who don't just echo what everyone else is saying, but who think for themselves. People who can calm heated rooms with a gentle insight. People who can turn pain into poetry and silence into serenity. That's what happens when you express like a philosopher. You become a mirror, a light, a guide. And the most beautiful part? You don't have to wait to be wise. You don't need a degree in philosophy. All you need is the willingness to feel, to think deeply, and to express honestly. You already have experiences, emotions, questions. Those are your materials. Now all you need is the courage to mold them into something meaningful. So next time you want to speak, pause for a moment. Don't rush. Breathe. Ask yourself, am I adding noise or offering insight? Choose your words like a sculptor chooses his chisel. With care, with patience, with love. And soon, your voice will become something people don't just hear, they remember. So, let me ask you gently, when you speak, are you just heard or are you truly felt? 3. Analyze like a psychologist. Life is full of layers. What we see on the surface is often just a small reflection of what's going on inside. That's why those who learn to look deeper, beyond what's obvious, often understand more, lead better, love wiser, and live with greater peace. And perhaps no one does this better than a psychologist. A psychologist doesn't just listen to what you say. They listen to what you mean. They read your words, your pauses, your silences, and your contradictions. They are trained not just to hear, but to understand. Imagine bringing that level of awareness into your own life. That's the power of learning to analyze like a psychologist. When you analyze like a psychologist, you don't jump to conclusions. You don't label people in a rush or react emotionally to every situation. Instead, you pause. You reflect. You ask yourself, what's really going on here? You begin to realize that behind every anger is a hidden fear. Behind every loud voice is an unheard pain. Behind every withdrawal is a story that was never told. And this changes the way you see the world. You stop judging. You start understanding. This kind of mindset builds emotional intelligence. One of the strongest foundations for success in relationships, leadership, parenting, and even personal healing. Think of how many conflicts could be avoided if people simply understood each other better. If they listened not to argue, but to feel what the other person might be going through. When you analyze like a psychologist, you learn to put yourself in other people's shoes. You develop empathy, not just sympathy. Empathy is powerful. Because when people feel understood, they soften. And when they soften, they open. And when they open, connection happens. But this skill is not just about understanding others. It's also about understanding yourself. In fact, that's where it begins. A true psychologist turns the mirror inward first. Why did that word hurt you so deeply? Why did you react that way in that moment? Why do you fear what you fear, or avoid what you avoid? These aren't easy questions, but they lead to healing. They lead to growth. Most people go through life repeating the same patterns, fighting the same battles, and blaming the world, never realizing the war is inside. But when you analyze like a psychologist, you slowly begin to understand your patterns, your triggers, and your wounds. And that understanding gives you power over them. Let's take an example. Imagine someone insults you in public. A common reaction might be anger, defense, or retaliation. But a psychological mindset steps back. It asks, why did their words affect me so much? Do they touch a wound I haven't healed? What might be going on in their life that made them lash out? Suddenly, instead of emotional reaction, you find emotional clarity. You regain control. You learn something about yourself, and perhaps something about them. Psychologists also understand that behavior is communication. When someone avoids you, snaps at you, or acts cold, it's not just bad behavior. It's often pain, or fear, or confusion. People show you their pain in the only way they know how. When you analyze like a psychologist, you don't excuse harmful behavior, but you do understand its root. And understanding the root is the first step to responding wisely instead of reacting blindly. This mindset also helps in decision-making. When you understand people's emotions and motives, including your own, you're less likely to be manipulated and more likely to make choices based on truth, not illusion. Whether you're choosing a friend, a business partner, or a life direction, this level of analysis helps you see beyond surface charm or fear-based urgency. You become more grounded, more stable, more awake. And the beautiful part is, anyone can learn this. You don't have to sit in an office or hold a degree to analyze with depth. You just have to be curious. Curious about human nature. Curious about the mind, the heart, and the soul. You need to ask better questions, to others and to yourself. And when you ask better questions, you find better answers. You become the kind of person who others trust, open up to, and learn from. Not because you have all the answers, but because you understand the questions. So, every time you feel hurt, confused, or misunderstood, take a pause. Don't push the emotion away. Observe it. Study it. Listen to what it's trying to tell you. Learn to recognize the patterns, in others and in yourself. Because when you see with clarity, you respond with wisdom. So let me ask you, do you just react to life, or do you understand it? 4. Observe like a detective. In a world where most people are too busy talking, running, reacting, those who observe quietly hold the real power. And no one observes quite like a detective. A detective isn't loud. A detective doesn't need attention. They simply see what others miss, ignore, or rush past. Their eyes are trained to notice details, to catch what's hidden beneath the surface, to recognize what doesn't feel right, even when everything looks fine. And in your own life, if you can learn to observe like a detective, you'll unlock a deeper awareness that will protect you, guide you, and even elevate you. Observation is not just looking. It's seeing with intention. It's noticing the change in someone's voice when they say, "I'm fine," but their tone feels off. It's watching someone's eyes when they smile and realizing their smile isn't real. It's picking up on the energy in a room, even before a single word is spoken. These are subtle things, and yet they are the clues to truth. A detective pays attention to patterns, in behavior, in timing, in silence. You can train yourself to do this too. Start by slowing down. The mind that's always rushing will never notice the whisper of truth. Pay attention to the world around you. The way people speak, the way they walk, how they respond to stress. Notice how you feel in different environments. Your body and intuition often sense what your logic can't explain. The more you observe, the clearer life becomes. You start noticing red flags early. You begin to see hidden beauty in ordinary things. You understand people without needing them to explain everything. Observing like a detective also helps you protect yourself from lies, manipulation, or betrayal. Not because you become paranoid, but because you become aware. You see when words and actions don't match. You notice when someone is overcompensating. You hear what's not being said. You notice inconsistencies. And those observations help you ask better questions, make better decisions, and avoid regret. But this isn't just about others. Observing your own self is just as powerful. Detectives study the scene, but they also study the evidence left behind. Likewise, you must study your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions. Why did that comment bother you so much? Why do you feel drained around certain people? Why are you uncomfortable in silence? Observation leads to answers, and those answers lead to awareness, and ultimately, growth. Observation builds patience, and patience builds wisdom. A detective never rushes to conclusions. They take time. They gather pieces. They connect the dots. This mindset can save you from acting impulsively or judging too quickly. It teaches you to be present, to live with open eyes and a calm heart. The more you observe, the less you assume. And that alone can transform your relationships and decisions. Many of life's most powerful lessons don't come through what you do, but through what you notice. The lesson is in the silence, the detail, the moment most people skip. And when you learn to observe, you gain the quiet confidence of someone who sees beyond the surface, someone who cannot be easily fooled and who always stays one step ahead. So pause often, watch closely, and remember, are you truly paying attention or just passing through? 5. Decide like a judge. In life, decisions are not just choices. They are turning points. Every decision we make shapes our future, our character, and even the lives of those around us. Some decisions come easy, like what to wear or what to eat. But the real ones, the life-changing ones, they come wrapped in emotion, confusion, and sometimes fear. And that's where the wisdom of a judge becomes so valuable. Judges don't just decide based on feelings. They decide based on facts, fairness, and foresight. They sit above the noise, above pressure, and above impulse. And they think. Imagine if you could bring that level of clarity to your daily decisions. That's the power of deciding like a judge. A true judge listens deeply, not just to the loud voices, but to the quiet truths hidden beneath. They examine all sides. They weigh evidence. They separate emotion from reason. They don't rush, even when everyone around them is demanding answers. They hold space for complexity. Because a judge knows that a wrong decision made quickly can do more damage than a right decision made patiently. In your own life, this mindset is pure gold. Think about how many people make decisions based on anger, jealousy, pride, or fear. They cut ties without understanding the full story. They chase dreams without checking the risks. They trust blindly or doubt endlessly. But a judge is different. A judge remains balanced. They don't lean left or right without reason. Their loyalty is not to people, but to principles, to truth, justice, and wisdom. That kind of decision-making builds strong foundations in life. To decide like a judge means to pause before you speak, think before you act, and reflect before you choose. It means asking yourself, what are the facts here? What are my values? What are the long-term consequences? Judges don't live for today's applause. They think about tomorrow's legacy. They don't bend under pressure. They hold steady under responsibility. And that's exactly what you need when life throws difficult choices your way. This kind of decision-making doesn't come from the mind alone. It comes from the heart as well. A judge has both intelligence and integrity. They don't just look at what is right, but also why it's right. They feel the weight of their decisions. They understand that every judgment affects real lives, real emotions, and real futures. That sensitivity is strength, not weakness. In your own journey, the same applies. Every time you choose to act with fairness, with kindness, and with courage, you become a little stronger, a little wiser, and a lot more respected. And of course, judges make mistakes too. But what makes them different is their willingness to own it, to learn from it, and to do better next time. That's part of the process. No one always decides perfectly. But when your decisions are guided by calm reflection, not chaos, by honesty, not ego, by clarity, not confusion, then even your mistakes lead to growth, not regret. One of the greatest lessons you can learn from a judge is to not decide in a storm. When emotions are high, clarity is low. A wise judge will delay the verdict until the dust settles. And you should too. When you're angry, wait. When you're scared, breathe. When you're pressured, step back. Clarity doesn't scream, it whispers. You must get quiet to hear it. In the real world, this means thinking long-term. Don't just ask, what feels good now? Ask, what's right in the long run? Don't let pride push you into proving a point when peace could solve the problem. Don't let insecurity rush you into decisions you're not ready for. You are not here to win every argument. You're here to live wisely. And wise living comes from wise choices. To decide like a judge is to carry yourself with dignity. Not just when people are watching, but when you're alone with your conscience. It's when you choose to be honest, even when lies would make life easier. When you choose what's right, even when it's not popular. When you forgive, not because it's easy, but because it's freeing. These are the quiet decisions that shape a strong, peaceful, and meaningful life. And remember, people may forget what you said or did, but they will never forget how your decisions made them feel. Choose carefully. Your integrity is your legacy. So let me ask you now, are your decisions driven by pressure or guided by principle? 6. Create like an artist. There is something incredibly powerful about the soul of an artist. An artist sees beauty where others see mess. They find color in chaos. They create when others complain. They don't wait for permission. They pour their heart into the world even when no one is watching. And to succeed in life, not just survive it, but truly live it, you must learn to create like an artist. Because life is not something that just happens to you. It's something you shape, paint, mold, and express. Moment by moment with your thoughts, actions, and vision. To create like an artist doesn't mean you need to hold a paintbrush or write poetry. It means you live with imagination. You bring life into your work, passion into your voice, and soul into everything you touch. An artist doesn't chase money. They chase meaning. They don't copy trends. They follow intuition. And that's where real innovation is born. When you begin to create from your truth, you give birth to something that the world has never seen before, because no one else sees life through your eyes. Artists don't wait for the perfect moment. They create with what they have. They use pain as ink, failure as inspiration, and silence as a canvas. They understand that creation is messy, emotional, and uncertain, but they show up anyway. That courage, to start even when it's not perfect, to keep going even when it's hard, is the secret ingredient to all greatness. Whether you're building a business, solving a problem, writing a speech, or dreaming of a better future, you need the mindset of an artist. That is, to create from the heart, not just the mind. Creating like an artist also means embracing vulnerability. Art is not about perfection. It's about truth. Artists are not afraid to show their scars, their doubts, their broken pieces. And that's what connects us to them. In a world where so many people wear masks, the artist dares to be real. When you live like that, you inspire others not just with what you make, but with who you are. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need applause to create. You don't need a crowd or a stage. You just need honesty, passion, and the willingness to keep going. Your life itself is your greatest masterpiece. Your thoughts, your choices, your relationships, they are your brushstrokes. Each day, you get to add a little more color, a little more depth, a little more love. Even if no one notices, you will feel the difference. And that feeling, that quiet joy of creating, is success in its purest form. So don't wait for inspiration. Be the inspiration. Don't look for the light. Be the light. Your story, your struggle, your dreams, they are tools in your creative journey. Use them. Share them. Shape them into something beautiful. And before you give up on yourself or your dreams, just remember, have you truly given yourself the chance to create something extraordinary? Or are you still waiting for permission? 7. Work like an engineer. There is a unique kind of strength in working like an engineer. It's not just about building machines or designing bridges. It's about building your life with precision, patience, and purpose. Engineers see challenges as puzzles waiting to be solved. They break down complex problems into smaller parts and carefully craft solutions that last. If you want to succeed in life, you need to adopt this mindset, to work like an engineer, because success is not a lucky accident. It's a well-designed structure built step by step with discipline and dedication. Working like an engineer means embracing structure. Life can feel chaotic, full of surprises, setbacks, and distractions. But an engineer knows how to create order out of chaos. They plan before they act, analyze before they build, and test before they launch. Imagine if you approached your goals with the same care and organization. Instead of rushing into things blindly, you would map your path clearly, set realistic milestones, and adjust as you learn. This methodical approach turns overwhelming dreams into achievable projects. It reduces stress and increases confidence. But working like an engineer isn't just about rigid plans. It's also about flexibility. Engineers don't expect every design to be perfect the first time. They experiment, learn from mistakes, and improve continuously. This balance between discipline and adaptability is what separates winners from quitters. When life throws obstacles, the engineer mindset says, "Okay, this didn't work. What can I change? How can I do it better?" This kind of resilience and problem solving is invaluable. Whether you're building a career, a business, or a better version of yourself, another key to working like an engineer is attention to detail. Engineers understand that small mistakes can cause big failures. They double-check, measure twice, and never ignore warning signs. In life, too, success depends on your ability to notice the little things, your habits, your attitude, your daily choices. It's those small, consistent efforts, day after day, that build strong foundations. Skipping details might save time temporarily, but leads to bigger problems later. When you work like an engineer, you respect the process, no matter how slow or boring it seems, because you know it's creating something solid and lasting. Working like an engineer also teaches patience. Not every project gets completed overnight. Some take months, years, or even decades. The engineer stays focused on the long term, knowing that every step counts. In today's fast-paced world, this kind of patience is rare but necessary. Instant gratification can make us give up too soon or chase shortcuts. But true success requires time, effort, and persistence. When you work like an engineer, you honor that timeline and keep pushing forward, even when progress feels slow. And of course, engineers value collaboration. Complex projects require many minds working together. No engineer builds a skyscraper alone. They consult, communicate, and cooperate. This teaches us the power of teamwork, humility, and listening. Sometimes, success isn't just about what you do alone. It's about how you connect with others, share knowledge, and combine strengths. When you work like an engineer, you understand that every part of the system matters, and that includes the people around you. Finally, working like an engineer means loving the process as much as the outcome. It means finding joy in solving problems, learning from failures, and building something meaningful. When you develop this mindset, work stops feeling like a burden and becomes a source of pride and passion. You start to see your life as a series of projects, each one shaping you, teaching you, preparing you for what's next. So ask yourself, are you rushing through life, or are you carefully engineering your success? Success isn't a gift. It's a masterpiece, carefully crafted through discipline, shaped by character, and colored by mindset. When you learn to speak like a lawyer, express like a philosopher, analyze like a psychologist, observe like a detective, decide like a judge, create like an artist, and work like an engineer, you don't just move forward in life, you rise above it. Each of these roles carries within it a superpower. When you combine them within yourself, you become powerful, balanced, and unstoppable. Life may throw its challenges, but with this blend of skills, you won't just survive. You'll thrive, inspire, and lead. So the question now is simple. Are you ready to master yourself and design the life you were born to live? If this message touched your heart, inspired your mind, or awakened something within, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone you care about. Let's grow together. Subscribe for more powerful motivation in simple English. Perfect for learning, growing, and becoming the best version of you. Till next time. Keep believing, keep building, and never stop becoming.